I'm going to be showing you how to create some palm trees. And I'm using a fan brush, and I've loaded it with a little bit of black and Van Dyke brown. Now you want to hold your handle so it's straight out from the canvas. I won't be doing that because I don't want to block you with my hand, but I'm holding my bristle so that my bristle is up and down, and you're just deciding on where you're going to place it in your painting, drawing a line, then reload. These are oil-based paints. They're very forgiving. And of course, as long as you don't draw a straight line, you're doing perfect. You're doing a great job. Nothing in nature is straight. I'll show you how to create the illusion of the palm trunk rings, the rings around the trunk. I'm going to go into a little bit of titanium white just to make a lighter shade so you can see me do this. I'm holding the handle so that the handle is to the side of the trunk. I'm going to go out a little bit into my sand that I have placed in here, and I'm going to touch and pull inward very lightly, different lengths, and it creates the illusion of those rings. Now I can go over it several times to tone it down. Always overlap. Do you see the difference if I do this? So overlap the edges. And this is giving the illusion of the bark of the tree. I'm using a very light pressure. As long as this is uneven here and you've gone outside your straight edged line, you're doing fine. Now, depending upon whether you're trying to show a light source, so this would be the light coming this way, and then you can go with the darker color again on the left side, so that would be the shadow, and do the same thing, pulling sideways in the middle to where you stopped with the light. And I'd soften a little bit just by going over top of where those two meet. Make sure your handle is towards the canvas when you do this. It just makes it easier to use a lighter pressure. And that's how you do the rings. So I'm going to show you how to do the fronds next, the palm leaves. I go into a little bit of green and blue, just so that you can see this. So you're going on the top or middle of your brush, holding the handle straight out, and just draw some lines. And here's one. We'll do three. I'm going to, these are the stems that the leaves are attached to. And once I've placed them in, depending upon the size of your canvas, really determines the length for proportion-wise that you need to have in your painting. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to do them about finger length. And the stem is placed in there because that's a guide that you use to actually create the leaves. Once I place it back on the stem, I'm using the side of the brush now instead of the tip. I'm brushing in the same direction that I pulled. Touch and brush. Touch and brush, like brushing your hair. Touch and brush. Usually they're longer leaves towards the tree trunk, and then they taper off towards the tip of the stem. Here's another one. Touch and pull in the same direction that you pulled the stem. I can make this a little bit longer if I want to. Remember, as long as everything is uneven, looks different in color, shape, size, you're doing just fine. Now, once I do that, I can go back into a little highlight. And then you're deciding upon which part of the leaves is actually showing some sunlight that's hitting on it. Now maybe this is lighter than what was underneath here. I'll do that again. Line it up to the stem. You're redoing the same stroke you did before. You're using a very light pressure, and because it's light green in color, it looks like the sun's shining on it. Now like this one here, what I have left, maybe there's a little sun shining on that edge. This is probably the easiest way of doing palm leaves. Here's some more. With the paint being so wet, it's very easy to change it. And I've added a little bit of linseed oil to my paint just to make it move easily. It also adds a lot of transparency. And I can go back, I can even hold the tip, or use the tip of the brush to actually create some ones that are, some strands that are narrower. Maybe coming down over top of this one. Hopefully you can see that. You can use a liner brush too to do that if you want to. It's always fun to practice. Take a little canvas like I'm doing and practice. I'm using a very light pressure, and I'm only using the top corner to draw these in. Touch and brush, touch and brush. And flick, flick, flick. Stroke. And that's how you place in a palm tree.